Good morning. I haven't been sending things out for a couple of days. I think what I'm going to call the district conference crud. I think I must have picked up a germ there. It was a great conference, but even great conferences, there's germs flying around. Um, Also flying around was this idea, which I've talked about before, even when I first came, about doing a home Bible study. And um, so I think where the Lord is leading me next is to take us through the book of John like I would if I was doing a home Bible study so you can get a feel for it. Maybe you can get some notes for it. And maybe as we're doing this, the Lord will poke you and you can and the Holy Spirit can speak to you and say, you could do something like this with so and so and so and so and this neighbor as well. Um, Why don't I do it? Because when I, as a pastor, ask somebody that's not coming to church or defenses go up like 3 layers deep, it just, in general, doesn't work. Um, but this kind of stuff works. We saw that at district conference. I picked the book of John because you can start him, you can start into his uh, book without knowing a lot of background. Now, there's a lot of deep, cool stuff in here, and I like to dig that out. But you don't have to do that to get a lot of great meaning, understanding of God and the Christian uh, teaching and lifestyle that's found in the gospel. The good news is found in the book of John. So let's start into it. If you're going to do a home Bible study, the best way to do it, read the whole book through one time. So the book of John, 21 chapters. Um, Slow reader, it might take you an hour, hour and a half. Uh, Read it all through at once, and then go back to that first chapter. And the trick is, under the Holy Spirit's guidance, to find how much can we go through at a time before it gets to be too heavy and people get lugged down. And that is just working with your group and always having more prepared than you're probably ever going to use. And when you start to see people lugging down, to say, okay, time for coffee and snacks and move on from it. Um, I'm going to take you through the first 14 verses, which again might be a lot, but it'll give you an idea of how this is going to go. So, John starts right in the beginning. Uh, we all have this, we all know that everything exists, and we wonder how. How did it all come to be? Was it a big bang? Was it an accident? Was it God designing something? What was it? And John starts off in the beginning. He says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Okay, so right off the bat, you start to wonder what is or who is the Word? That would be the first question that I would think would come up. What is this whole thing about the Word? And is the Word exactly the same as God? In the beginning was the Word. Okay, so even just as time starts ticking over, the Word was there. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Okay, so they're not the same, right? And the Word was God. Or maybe they are the same. What is this all about? Who or what is the Word? Is the Word exactly the same as God? John hasn't given us the answer yet, but he's built up this question that right when time started, God was there, and this entity of sorts, the Word was there. And he's immediately built our curiosity. What is this all about? What is he trying to do? And you don't have to answer this question, right? You don't have to. You have to ask these questions because they're there, or you have to let these questions kind of float up to the surface when you're talking about it. You might even throw out the first one or the second one and let people scratch their heads. Let John's uh, desire to make people really focus and think about what he's saying here uh, come to the surface without an answer. Well, he's got more for us here. So at creation, we go from in the beginning to now the point of creation. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. So everything from the farthest galaxies to the tiniest single-celled animals, everything that we can possibly discover in nature has been made through him. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. Wow. Okay, so we're getting some heavy understanding of God and the Word. God and the Word made everything, and not only that, there was a special kind of life in God and the Word that John describes as the light of all mankind. And one way to unpack that is to talk about it, to bring up a funeral and say, what is different about that? If you've been to an open casket funeral, what is different about that person in the casket versus when they were alive? And it's that light of life is gone, right? I mean, you look and the features are all the same, but yet there's something missing, and that's that light of life. And that light of life comes from the Word. So we're learning lots of things about the Word. A question that I have here that I think might be next, John skips and tells us about another John. And this puts us, well, what does it do for us? There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. What does that do for the narrative? We've been, at the beginning of time, we've seen all of creation, we've seen, the human experience and life and light, and then we shift cameras to John. And what does that do for us? To the original readers of this gospel, it gets us back to a human being that they may know, may have heard of John the Baptist. It ties it back into human time and human space. And will this be a thing in your group? Maybe not, but it is something to keep in mind. Somebody might be jarred by that jump, and you might need to take them there. And then John, the author, pops us back to the image of the light, the true light that gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Right there, okay? You are able to say, you know what? If we don't get this right off the bat, that's okay. Because even in the day when he was there living among them, there were a lot of people that didn't get it. A lot of them didn't get it even till after he had left. But he, by and large, was misunderstood. So if we're not getting it, that's all right. Because this book was written to help sort all that out, right? So this is a place where if the Spirit leads, where you might bring something like that up and say, you know, this isn't, John is recognizing here, this isn't easy to get, even for those that were on scene. But if you do get it, you have and this is a phrase you can really work with, the right to become children of God. I still remember one summer I was working on a garbage truck down in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And the driver and I were talking. I was a thrower. I was up in the front with him, and he said, "Yeah, we're all children of God." Well, no, and I ran this thought by him. We're definitely all creations of God, right? But to become a child of God, that's it. That means you need to receive the light, and you need to trust His name. And this is not just being born, right? Children born not of natural descent, nor of a human decision or a husband's will. And you can unpack that all that. What does all that mean? This means that something spiritual happens. Something happens on a level that is different than the physical level. It's because we're spiritual beings that this kind of thing happens. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. So now we're shifting, right? We've talked about the light. Now we're shifting back to the Word. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. And now we're going to unpack this. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. So now we get the relationship. We've got, and we can turn that light on. Who is the Word? And what was he doing there in the beginning? Well, you've got God, the eternal Father, and you've got his eternal Son, the Word, became flesh. John, right up front, is going to have you deal with the fact that Jesus was God come on the earth. And John is now speaking as a witness. I lived with this guy for the better part of 3 years. I've seen his glory. And I know he's come from the Father, full of grace and truth. And we can start to ask questions to unpack this. Like the Word became flesh. Why would he do that? Why would he become flesh and live among us? It'd be like us deciding to become clay and live among the little statues that we've made. I mean, what is that about? So I would love some feedback if you think this is something that uh, I should pursue. I'm feeling like this is where the Lord's leading, but I'm not positive. So we shall see.